It's no surprise that many schools throughout the country are trying to get kids to cut back on sugar. The childhood obesity epidemic is a very serious problem. And so the Children's Academy in Aurora, Colorado, apparently has some sort of plan to convince kids to eat healthier, and they're trying to get parents involved. As a result, one preschool student wasn't allowed to eat the Oreo cookies that her mother had packed for her. And now her mother is livid. The mother in question here is Leeza Pearson. And apparently when she found out about this, she was really, really upset. She got a letter from the teacher who didn't let her daughter eat the Oreos. The letter read in part, "Dear parents, it is very important that all students have a nutritious lunch. This is a public school setting and all children are required to have a fruit, a vegetable, and a heavy snack from home along with milk. If they have potatoes, the child will also need bread to go along with it." Can we stop right there for a second?
I don't even know. I was like, what food pyramid are you working off? Oh, no, you didn't.
If your child is eating starch, they need to supplement that with more starch because we're trying to get them to eat healthy. No Oreos for you.
This letter sounds a little bonkers to me.
Yes, it continues. Lunchables, chips, fruit snacks, and peanut butter are not considered to be healthy snacks. This is a very important part of our program, and we need everyone's participation. I mean, I get it. If you're eating Jif, it's probably not healthy. But in some cases, peanut butter is part of a healthy diet.
It's also just American.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a very hard stance. I would say that I'm like right-wing peanut butter.
I love peanut butter. I put peanut butter in my protein shakes in the morning.
So this seems like this teacher went rogue.
Yes.
Because this is not they don't actually have to follow any sort of rules, right?
No. So it turns out that one of the administrators at the school says, we have no such policy. Yes, we're trying to get kids to eat healthier, but we do not have a policy where we allow teachers to tell the kids what they can and cannot eat. So her mother had packed her a cheese and ham sandwich, other things, and I guess the dessert was 4 Oreo cookies in a Ziploc bag. And this teacher decided to get involved and tell her, no, you can't eat that. Look, I don't think I would give my kid Oreo cookies, but that's my business, right?
Yes.
And so let a parent be a parent, okay? This child is not facing an imminent threat. It's not your place to tell this kid what she can or cannot eat.
I agree. This teacher overstepped her boundaries, and what she should have done was maybe had a conversation with the class about moderation. Because that's where you start teaching healthy behavior that the child can then take with them to the next grade and throughout their life, instead of scolding them and telling them no. Because any child I know that you say, or even adults, that you say, no, you can't do something, all it does is make my impulses say, well, now I want to really do it because I want to know what you're telling me I can't do. And so to have this little girl be told she can't eat Oreos could in turn, not saying it did, but could in turn say, well, now I want to eat more because you told me I can't have this and I want this, so now I'm going to sneak cookies and I'm going to do whatever.
Yeah, I totally agree. I feel like this kind of condescending language actually hurts the anti-obesity movement because people look at it like, oh, this is an elitist thing. You want me to serve organic, raw, whole foods, food that I can't afford, or for whatever reason, I'm not feeding my children, and you're trying to dictate to me. And that, I think, totally sends the wrong message and actually pushes us farther back. Like this, like you said, it needs to be an education. It needs to be about moderation. There always needs to be respect for the parents.
Definitely, because you don't know if that parent had gotten a free lunch from someone because they couldn't afford, like you had said.
Who knows?
You don't know how this child got this lunch, but at least this child was not being malnourished and they had a meal. And so for you to send this letter home scolding this parent as if, I know what you're doing, you're the worst, get out of here. I doubt that this teacher has been a teacher for very long, I assume, and I also doubt that this teacher has any children. Because if this teacher had been teaching for a long time, would have probably approached it differently, and if had children, would have known that this is not the way to handle it.
Right. And I agree with you guys that the best way to handle a situation like this is to educate, right? Let people know why it is that certain foods are unhealthy for them. I recently watched this documentary on Netflix called Fed Up. Have you guys heard of it by any chance? And a lot of the stuff in there I already knew, but it really honed in on the impact of sugar on our diets, on our waistlines, how, there have been different waves of diet products out there that have completely misled us into believing one thing or another. the whole anti-fat thing that we just recently went through and finally got very smart about and realized that's not the real issue.
Yeah, it turned food into like science experiments that are like low fat, but you're like, what is this?
Exactly, exactly. So being educated about those things allows me to make healthy choices for myself. If I had a family, I'd make healthy choices for my family. And that's the way you do it. You do it through education. You don't do it through, you know,
pointing the finger and shaming.
Shaming people, exactly.
Horrible.